new anymore. It's been out for 16 months, and we've been on the road for 17 by the time this tour finishes. It's been a long, long tour. This will be our 151st show tonight.
You know, I was looking at the lineup. You go to places like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Russia. Is this the first time for the band?
No, we've been to, we've done, the places we've never played before is Poland and Russia. We went to Poland to do press. We've never even set foot in Russia before, so that's going to be an interesting experience. But everywhere else we've been before, most of the places.
20 plus years, you guys, touring, making music. There's a movie out on VH1 in just a couple of years. Def Leppard is not a name that's going away anytime soon.
Oh, well, I hope not, because we've always tried to put quality over quantity, which is why 10 records in 20 odd years is not really a lot, but we've always figured we'd be better off putting a good one out every 3 years than 3 mediocre ones once every year, you know. So I think maybe if you've got good songs, people remember them, and they transcend all trends and all that kind of stuff, and that's always been our aim.
Does it get old for you? Do you tire from it?
Not really. The touring can get tiring, but you don't get tired of doing it, because we're just very blessed that there's 5 people in this band that all want the same thing. We all work as hard as each other to achieve it, and it's everybody's dream to be a working musician, since we saw Bowie and Bolan and people like that on Top of the Pops back in '72. It's like, oh, I really want to do that, and we've all managed to keep the same enthusiasm on, which is really pretty cool.
You guys have really been through a lot, and do you look at it now like, well, there's a lot more material to write, we've got a lot more to talk about, a lot more experience behind it?
Yeah, you can do that. We tend not to write about ourselves. I always find it a little narcissistic to write about, oh, well, you know, Rick losing his arm. Occasionally we've done it, but it's kind of gone like that over most people's heads, of like not really taking it on board. They think we're trying too hard. It's a little difficult. White Lightning was pretty much aimed at Steve. Desert Song was Mick Ronson. We've touched on things, but we're not allowed to touch on things like that. You know, from a media point of view, it's like that's not our role in life, to be Bob Dylan or Bono. So when we do it as well as we do it, and we do it well when we do it, it falls on deaf ears. So we tend to write about experiences that are more a broader path, that many people can, you know, gulp and go, yep, he's singing about me, or he's singing about us, not me just singing about one specific incident.
Does the media pigeonhole you? I mean, do they
Oh, they've pigeonholed us since day one. Yeah. Always have. And you try, and that's the word, pigeon. I mean, a pigeon tries to get out and fly off. You know, I mean, and we've fought every category that we've been put in, because we want to stand alone and don't want to be part of a movement. We never want movement to die. Everything inside that movement dies, and that's why we have to jettison anything that anybody tries to put us in. We categorically state that we're not. You know, we're Def Leppard, end of story. Nothing to do with the movement.
It's probably cliched at this point. I'm sure everybody's asked you about the movie, you know, what do you guys think about it? But I'll tell you, being an American and being from America, it obviously brought Def Leppard to an entire audience, the MTV generation of kids who might not have grown up with you back in the 80s, but they're here in the 90s now in the next century, and they're watching this TV movie and they're like, wow, that's kind of cool. I was, you know, and maybe they tune into the music. Are you finding that it brought you back into the spotlight for a while?
We noticed a huge rise in the sales, like the back catalogue and stuff, you know, for a month or two after the album, the movie was broadcast. I thought the movie was okay. I think it did the job that it was supposed to do. I mean, you've got to realise with a movie about a rock band, it's very an uninteresting subject anyway. We get out of bed, we go somewhere, do an interview, we do a sound check, we go on stage. You can pretty much sum up an entire band's career with just a one day, in a day on the road. It's the same day every Groundhog Day. I mean, it's just a different venue. Essentially, it's the same thing. It's not as varied as an astronaut, or it's not as varied as a fighter pilot who one day's, all right, he might be flying the same height, but he's over a different place, and some of his missions are serious and some of them are practice. With us, it's pretty much, it doesn't have the same intensity. The movie portrayed the other side of us quite well, I think, which is the recovery that Rick had to put himself through, and the gradual deterioration of Steve. The downside of it was that they made Steve look really miserable all the time, and he wasn't like that all the time. But that's just because it's a movie, not a documentary, you know. And the fact that they had the M25 10 miles from Sheffield when it's actually 180 miles from Sheffield. It's a bit of a giveaway. English folk watch that film with a completely different head on than Americans. I mean, it's shot in Vancouver, so there's like, you know, there's no yellow lines down the middle of the roads in England. There's a lot of giveaways like that, but you can't see those in the script to alter. You don't know that's the way that they're going to do it. We managed to make them take on board a lot of factual changes that they had to put in. But other than that, you know, me acting as script doctor was literally from the words I was allowed to see. We never got to see any shots. We say, you'll have to reshoot that because it's not right. So it's a movie. And as I've always said in comparison, if you took 4 astronauts and made them watch Apollo 13, they'll pick holes in it that your regular person wouldn't be able to find. So you have to let that go. Anybody that's in the industry will see things, but people that aren't won't.
What's the reception like in America post-movie? Bigger crowds, bigger audiences? Older crowds, younger crowds?
No, younger actually. Yeah. We're getting younger people. We're getting more than, say, we did in '99. And '99 was a big tour. I mean, some of the places we played in on the Euphoria tour, we were getting 20, 21,000 people coming. And on this tour, we've had bigger crowds. We've had requests to go back to the same place twice on the same tour. You know, and that's like, I mean, even Britain, we did 10 shows in February, and they were begging us to come back, and we just did another 10 in different cities, and they were all sold out. And I mean, and that's just England, which is nowhere near as excitable as America is in a rock and roll way. You
guys have had some access to U.S. service members. What sort of contact have you had with the guys in uniform from the U.S.?
There's a guy called Mungo down in Portsmouth, and he was a huge fan, and he managed to wangle the flight simulators to be opened on a Sunday, which they never are, and invited us all down, and it was fascinating. I was up there having a dogfight with Phil's 13-year-old son, who kicked my ass big time, you know, because he plays games, and I was just getting nauseous every time I made the thing drop to 500 feet in 2 seconds. My stomach was actually going there. I realized then it's psychological, but it's how your brain sees it, not necessarily how your body feels it, you know. But it was amazing to watch these people when they were doing it properly and to actually experience what it must be like. It was great. It was really good. And they looked after us so well. We, of course, repaid the compliment by looking after them at the concert.
Are you nearing the end of being able to do all this touring? Is it something that you still enjoy doing? You still
I wouldn't want to be in the band anymore if we weren't allowed to tour. You know, I couldn't just make records and then go back home. And at the same time, I couldn't just go on tour without making records. That makes you a nostalgia act. They have to be tied in together, and I don't see any reason why a band can't do it for. I mean, the Stones are 60s, and they've just done a world tour for a year. Tom Jones is 62. He's still doing it, you know. And so the Beatles, by the sounds of it, next door. You know, McCartney's 60, and there's no reason. Bob Dylan's 60 nearly.
You're still far away from there.
Rick just turned 40 yesterday, the day before yesterday, and there's so many reasons to not stop. You know, I mean, within 9 o'clock at night when those lights go down, that feeling takes you back to being 16 again. There's no way that you could ever want that to go away.
The future for Def Leppard, what's happening in the next couple of years?
We call it the circle of life, album tour, that's all it is. There's only 2 corners to this particular circle, which shouldn't have any corners at all, but that's what it is. It's, you know, we make an album, we go on tour, we come off the road, we spend a bit of time at home with family and stuff, and we start thinking the next record. You can't build a song like you can build a cabinet. You can't start at 10 a.m. and have a song finish at 3 and it be of the same quality as a piece of furniture, which you can churn out day after day. You can write a song in 3 minutes, but it doesn't mean it's going to be any good. So, you know, it's the quality control has to come, and we don't write well on the road, never have. And so we put time aside, which is why there's always big breaks between our albums. But we're going to see what happens. We've already started recording some stuff, and we're hoping to get straight back on the horse, as it were, in January. But we're going to take the rest of the year off. We'll have 6 weeks off.
And I guess also, too, there's this sort of transformation the band's gone through, you know, no longer in the single life, doing the party atmosphere. You all have families you go back to now, yeah?
Yeah, everybody's married with kids except me. And everybody's, you know, wants to spend time at home. But I want to spend time at home, no matter if you've got kids or not. You've got friends, you've got relatives, you've got your parents, you've got mums, brothers and sisters, and whatever else you've got. Going home is very important. Everybody gets to do it every day. We don't. We get to do it every 6 weeks. For maybe only 3 or 4 days. I went home yesterday for a day and a half, you know, 2 days ago. And it's too much of a tease, you know. You just about empty your case and you've got to put it all back together again, you know. But I think it's important to mix the two, you know. I mean, you spend 21 years in the womb, is the way I call it. If you leave home when you're 18 or 19, you've had 18, 19 years in. You can disappear and stay out till 3 o'clock, but you have that knowledge that you've got the key to get back into mum and dad's house and crawl up to your bedroom and it's cuddly and you can recuperate from what you've just done. Then you go off on your own and you can sow the wild oats and all that kind of stuff. But sooner or later you need to go back and just charge up the batteries and just reevaluate where you are in life. The whole party thing in the 80s was a load of old nonsense anyway. I can think of maybe 6 or 7 people that actually took that the way that it's been perceived in the paper, in the media, in radio generally. You know, a couple of guys out of Motley Crue, a couple of the guys. Most of us spent all our energy trying to make a great rock show last 3 hours. And you haven't got the time to do all that, supposed. You do it once and somebody sees it and everybody seems to think it happens every night. You know. I could count on one hand the amount of times that we've been debaucherous.
Well, that's 5 less than me, I think, anyway.
So you've done 10, huh? That's great. You see, we're kind of half as cool as you guys.
I guess the reception you get when you come over to places like Germany, the fans, you still get a charge out of it?
It depends where you play. I mean, honestly, it's different every gig. You do Essen and there's like tons of Americans there. And you can go to like Stuttgart and there might be none at all. And consequently, you talk all this American stuff and the Germans are going, huh? And you talk all the German stuff and the Americans are going, why don't you just speak in English? You know, there's no Germans in, we're all Americans here, you know. So it's hard one to call Germany, but it's always been here for us, which is great. You know, it's by far in the top 4 or 5 of our best markets in the world, where we sell records constantly. Doesn't mean that we're a big band here at all. I mean, we've done gigs here where we've done 10,000 people at one gig and then we've gone somewhere the next day and there's been 800. You know, and we've done some gigs where there's 400 people on the first night and then you go to somewhere else a week later and there's 7,500 there. It just depends where you are because it's such a big market, you know.
We got the cut sign, so I'll thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.